I'm Ali Longden, and I'm the Director of Learning and Teaching here at the college. And together with my colleagues Stacey and Amanda, we're going to facilitate this next hour. So I'll just hand over to Stacey first and then on to Amanda just to introduce themselves.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar / teaching session. It's a mixed bag really, but I'm Stacey Salt and I'm the adult education tutor here at the college, and I'll pass over to Amanda.
Hi everyone, I'm Amanda and I am the curriculum development manager at the college, and I've been at the college for 6 years now. And yes, welcome everyone to the webinar.
Great, thank you. So our aim for today, as you'll know, it's called Eau de Co-operation, and what we want to do, what our overall aim is to collectively, for all of us together, to identify sort of essential elements, the ingredients, as it were, that underpin the college's cooperative learning approach. I'm not going to say any more just at the moment, because one thing that we always do at the college, at the start of meetings and also in many of our training courses as well, it's a check-in with everybody who's there, just to check in about how they are. It's a practice of care, kindness, equality, and it's sort of become part of what we do, of what we're about. So there's a few of us here today, so rather than sort of going around everybody and saying hello and for check-in, because of the time constraints, we'd just like to do this in chat. So it's just about asking you, how are you today? You know, just in a few words. We'd appreciate it if you could type it in chat, but as it says there, don't press enter yet, because what we'd like to do is I'll count 1, 2, 3, and then everybody presses enter, and it's called like a waterfall round, in the sense that it gives everybody a chance just to type in the chat how they are, and then we'll all say that together, you know, how we're doing. You know, it's entirely up to you as to whether you contribute to this and whether you do this and how much you say. So I'm just going to give a few more seconds for people to be typing how they're doing, how they are in chat, not how they're doing. And I'll just go through my slides. See, I can see people still looking down, so I shall just hang on a few more seconds. That's great. So if I count 1, 2, 3, and then if you just press enter, oh, there they all go. If you can see the chat. That's good. Someone's feeling busy and overwhelmed. I know that that's a common feeling, I reckon. And from Brisbane, Australia, that's great. We've got a very sort of international feel today. Yeah, oh, that's good. Everybody sort of have a check through. See how everybody's doing today. Cat's got a cold, I see. And yeah, glad the rain stopped. Yeah, I was really glad. I'm looking. Oh, it's actually started again. But yeah, I had a bit of a soggy dog walk yesterday, not so soggy this morning, I've got to say. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. It's good to see a balance sort of excitement and people have other things going on in their lives as well, as we all do. So I'll go back to what we're actually, you know, the planning for today, what we're actually doing. So I thought it'd be useful just to give a little bit of background about why we're doing this. Just bear with me one moment. There we go. So the background to this webinar, and it's not really a webinar, as you'll see, because to me a webinar is when people are just talking and you're listening, and we want it to be much more interactive than that. So as many of you will know, back in 2021, the college underwent a restructure and became a remote working organisation. And then in last year, 2022, around the June, July time, we launched our strategy, our 3-year strategy. And with that, in that strategy, there are 4 key themes as detailed on the screen there. The one, cooperative learning, is highlighted in bold because that's what we want to be sort of talking about and discussing today, because we think it's really important to explore what we mean by cooperative learning. It's something that's, you know, it's talked about, or cooperative education, as some people may refer to it. And it's something that there's already, you know, lots written about, and people have their own ideas about what that may mean. But as a college, we think it's important that we're able to define it, about what our position is, and people may or may not agree with everything that we say, but we wanted to do that collaboratively and collectively with people. And I'm sorry if you can see a dog popping up. She's just come to say hello by the sounds of it. So let me just move on. When we say cooperative learning, we refer to as having a distinctive learning approach. And really what we're saying is what does that mean to us? Now, as a staff team, we've thought about this and we're thinking about how we practice things, but we want to know more. You know, what does it really mean in practice and what does it mean to other people? What I must say is that, you know, like all teaching and learning, it is underpinned by learning theories. Excuse me, I'm just going to get a dog down. There you go. And, you know, there's many that, you know, people who are educationalists here would recognise, and I think all teaching and learning is a blend of theory. And we really sort of want to recognise that. And for us, it's obviously for us, the cooperative values and principles are that golden thread underpinning it all. But there's something about what else is in the blend. There's other things that go on. You know, when you're teaching, when you're learning, there's a whole blend of different elements that are happening. And so that's what we're wanting to explore with everybody today, is to get your views, your thoughts, your thinking on what is in that blend of cooperative learning for you. This is an activity we're going to do, is something that we've done as a college staff team. We've also done it with a group of international learners that we had in February, a big group. And so we want to do, you know, to do this, invite our members to contribute to this as well. So that's, you know, members and other interested people as well. So what I'm going to do is hand over to Stacey, and she'll explain the activity as to what we would like to ask you to do.
Are you going to keep sharing your screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so a while back, Ali, Amanda and I was talking about our cooperative learning approach and some of the techniques that we use, and it's all about how we structure it, how we invite people in, and how we embed the values and principles. And like Ali said, it's not anything that is brand new. It's very much based on a lot of the participatory, I can't say that word, theory and research that has already been done, but it's bringing different elements of that together. So during this conversation, we got very excited, like we do quite a lot, in being able to unpick what we do. And we started to think of it as the distillation of perfume, and we started thinking around using that as a metaphor. So what you'll see on the screen, on the slide, is a slide which represents how perfume is made. So if you read about the making of perfume, etc., fragrances are made through different notes. So we've got top notes, heart notes, and base notes, like you can see on the screen. And all these ingredients are put into the bottle, that I'll just use that as an example, and they are distilled over a period of time, and then the scent is created. So as you can see on the screen, I'll start with the top notes. So top notes, so examples of those are scents like lemon or sage. The top notes, when you spray the fragrance, are the opening notes, and they very much represent the first impression, but they're also the first to fade as well. But when you spray the scent on you can smell it straight away, and it's that first kind of meeting with that fragrance. Then moving on to the heart notes. Now these make up to about 80% of that fragrance. And some examples that we've got on there are scents like rose and ylang ylang, and these form the foundation of any fragrance. So if we think about heart notes as being something very, very central to that fragrance, and they, I would say, underpin the scent as well. The heart notes start to appear when the top notes have started to fade, and they've got a very, very strong influence. So they're integral to that fragrance. Then moving on to the base notes. So this is scents like vanilla and musk. And these base notes right at the bottom of that fragrance, they blend with the heart notes, and they really, really help to deepen that fragrance. They make up to about 25% of the scent, but they create that final lasting impression. So if you think about a fragrance being sprayed onto you, you'll get the top notes first, then the heart notes and the base notes, and they're all integral of each other, but they all have to work together to make that scent unique. The final fragrance becomes even more unique when sprayed on a person. So I don't know if you've ever noticed, you might spray a scent on you and spray it on someone else, and there's a slightly different smell. And also, when you're walking through somewhere and the waft of that fragrance or the silage, that makes the scent even more unique. So although a perfume might be distilled in a bottle and smell like a particular scent in the bottle, when it's sprayed on someone and that waft as they're walking, it can change on an individual basis. So when we're thinking about the art of distillation in cooperative learning sense, this is what it will look like. So here, what we've got is thinking of the top notes as things like theory and curiosity and lived experiences. So it's that first interaction that you might get with students or participants within your training session. Like the top notes in the fragrance distillation, they represent the first impression. They will fade, but they will always be there. But they are extremely important in creating that sense of belonging, that culture, and they are the beginning of the cooperative learning experience. Then when we come to the heart notes of cooperative learning, these are really important factors because these are at the heart. So these are things like the values, the principles, and your own personal values that you might enact every day. They are the foundation of the learning experience, and they shine through at all stages and drive the experience of cooperative learning. And then we've got the base notes right at the bottom. So we thought of this as like the outcomes for people and communities, the change that might happen, the progress that people might make. It's about development. And when these are blended with the heart notes and the top notes, they deepen that experience of cooperative learning. It creates the final lasting impression, and it can drive change and development through that process. So thinking about how the top, heart and base notes all work together, they create a botanical blend of cooperative teaching and learning, but they maintain that individual experience. So it's coming back to that thinking of when it's sprayed on someone and that waft you get as people walk past. But without a combination of all these, the cooperative learning experience wouldn't happen. It wouldn't be fulfilled. So it's a process that we go through as teachers, that our students go through, that our training participants might go through to experience cooperative learning. Now, what we want you to do is, what would be your distillation process? So we're going to get you to go into a breakout room in smaller groups, and we don't want you to add anything to anything at this moment. We just want you to have a discussion. And what we want you to discuss within, is it 15 minutes, Ali? Yeah, 15 minutes is, what would you put in the top notes? What would you put in the heart notes? And what would you put in the base note? Now, this could be different for each person, and that is fine. The idea behind this is that we want to get as much contribution and collaboration into our definition of cooperative learning. So what we're going to do is, Ali's going to be setting breakout rooms up. We'll pop you in them, and you can discuss what the ingredients are. If you want to make your own notes, that's absolutely fine. And we want you to create your own fragrance. When we come back from that discussion, we're going to get you to use the Mentimeter to individually then add your top, base and heart notes. So I think we're ready to go. What I do want to do before we go into that room, though, is I'm going to put into the chat the art of distillation of cooperative learning. Okay, so I'm just going to grab the image. So you should be able to click on that image and it should be able to open on your screen. Or alternatively, you could take a picture of it as well. It's just to help structure your conversation when you go into the room.
Yeah, sorry, I was just unmuting myself and I've just moved it back onto that screen now. What I'll do is I'll stop the screen share and then I'll put you all into breakout rooms. So just wait for everyone to come back in because it gives 60 seconds. So it's just...
Here we go.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone. So we're going to move on, but we do hope you had a really good chat, and we didn't want you to actually note anything down as such during the breakout room, so you could really concentrate on your discussions and go through those different notes. But we'd love some reflection time now with you all and an opportunity to get some of your thoughts down. So what we're going to do, I'm going to now pop a link into the Mentimeter, okay? And the Mentimeter is just 3 questions. So there's, well, they're all similar questions, but we're going to start with top notes and work our way through top, heart and base notes. This is going to be controlled by me. Okay, so we'll do one at a time. It's just to prevent people jumping ahead. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I am going to present. Can you all see the Mentimeter?
Stacey, we just need to say, just ask everyone just to click on the link that's in the chat, which will open another screen for them, and they should be able to access this Mentimeter then and put the code in. Or you can do it on your phones as well. You could always go to the website address, as is on there on the top, www. Somebody's already started, brilliant, and then put in the code when it asks you to. So yeah, so feel free and just go start adding your top notes as you know what are important for you.
I really like that idea of using a hook to draw people in. Feeling safe and able to make a mistake. Yeah, so creating that environment where we are all there to learn as well. Sharing ideas without judgment. Yeah, absolutely. That's a really interesting one here. Expressing the learner and instructor needs from the experience. I think that's a really important aspect of teaching and learning, and really part of the cooperative learning approach, because I think it's a two-way experience, isn't it, for the teacher, for the student, and I suppose you're all there to learn something, aren't you? It's a really interesting perspective. Agreeing how best to communicate with one another to create a safe environment. Again, I think that's really important. I suppose depending on the education sector you might work in, that might work in different ways, but ultimately it's creating that shared understanding of how to move forward. Take a fragrance away, a learning that will stay with me. Yeah? Inclusive group of learners. Okay, brilliant. So there's some really good, interesting points on there. Feeling safe and being able to make a mistake, that links in with the idea of belonging and creating that classroom culture where everyone can learn safely, freely together. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to go to the next question. I just want to say, if you haven't been able to get on the Mentimeter, you can always put your answers in chat as well. That's absolutely fine because we can have them on. Okay, so let's go to question 2. So as you're thinking about the heart notes, so based on your conversations, what was your thinking around heart notes? I'll give you a minute. Okay, brilliant. So collaboration, equality, equity, they're integral, aren't they, of cooperation, the cooperative movement, also lots of different classrooms as well, and it's linking back to those values. Experiences more facilitation that taught each person sharing ideas and experiences to support others' own learning in a mutual context. Yeah, absolutely. Learning from lived experiences in the room, diversity of voices to learn from. Yeah, I think that's really important. So if we're thinking about sharing our own stories, our lived experiences, our own personal journeys. We've got to be respectful of that, but what can we learn from each other in that sense as well? The what of learning, takeaways being practical. Yeah, so is there something we can do straight away, something that we can put into practice? Valuing and considering all points of view of experiences each group member brings to the conversation. That is so important, isn't it, in any training or classroom setting in the whole of education. Everyone has got something to share, and it's about listening with intent to other people, isn't it? Everyone's got a voice and opinion, but also can challenge other people's points of view respectfully. And that's how we learn, isn't it? Like, if we hear what other people have got to say, but actually, can we offer something alternative to that? And if so, are we able to explore that in further detail, and how can we learn from that? I need to read this one about the sandwich. It's dinner time. The filling in the sandwich, the juicy bits that people can get really involved in, like analysis, thinking time, and applying values in practice. Absolutely. And I like that idea of it's that bit in the middle of the sandwich. And there's so much that can happen there, isn't there? Offering choices to learners about activities and resources so they are empowered in deciding how to learn. Yeah, it is not just one set way. I think a lot about, do we have to learn in a classroom as well? Are there alternative places to learn new things? For example, the outdoors and under a tree. You know, there's alternative ways to experience things, but offering those choices as well. Because students and trainees, participants in a session, they're all more than capable of making that choice if we offer that choice as well. Brilliant input on that. Let's go to the next one, or the last one. Okay, so these are our base notes. Okay, give you a minute to think about your base notes. Okay, the value of a collective values-based learning experience, learning from others. Yeah, so you can always take those experiences away as well, can't you, from the classroom? A practical action that each person commits to, openly shared with everyone else, to further build mutuality and openness. Yeah, and that's bringing in and tying in that idea of collaboration, isn't it? And working together. I like that one. I like them all, by the way. I'm not just picking favourites. Translating learning into action, plans and work. I'm getting more and more excited as a reader, man. But yeah, so what we're learning, how can we put that into action outside of the classroom? Depending on the educational sector as well, that will look slightly different. But I suppose that links into the one underneath as well, that idea of curiosity and excitement, that learning is for all. It really is. The learning you take away and that stays with you, or that helps you change your act, so that is useful to your role, your life, and your ongoing learning journey. Yeah, so when you're in the classroom or a training course, it's not just about learning something and only using it for a specific reason. How can you use that in different contexts as well? How is that applicable to life or a career or to your family? Yes, so we've got that again, about the idea of the outcomes that you can apply to your life as well. Building accountability through communities of learning and practice. Yeah, so what I'm loving on it is there's lots of links to the idea of collaboration and working together, inspiring people to take on the role of change makers. That's a brilliant one. So thank you for this. All your input is going to help to inform our analysis, which we will be taking to the OSRM, won't we, Ellie? But I am going to pass back over to Ellie because I'm conscious of the time for some questions, I think. But thank you for doing that. Brilliant.
Yeah, what it was, we thought, you know, we've done a lot of the talking, we know you've been contributing. So really, we just wanted to open up the space now for any further comments, thoughts, questions that anybody may have. We've got really about sort of 10 minutes, so plenty of time for anything or any sort of provocation to us, you know, or any points that you'd like, you know, like to make. I will just say, Stacey mentioned the LSRN conference. What that is Amanda and Stacey are going to sort of present what we've found so far and about us. It's the Learning and Skills Research Network Conference, which is taking place at the end of April in Birmingham, I think, if I remember correctly. So yeah, but basically just shout out if anybody would like to ask something or have a comment, then please just say. And also, you know, feel free to type anything you want to say in chat as well. Go ahead, Matthew.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, so far it seems to be, well, my thinking is that it's about collaborating with learners, but I was wondering, do you ever collaborate across faculties in projects or with lessons?
Yeah, I mean, as a college, we do. I mean, we're really small, as many people will know, as the college. And because we're such a small team, that makes it a lot easier to do that with it. But it's really important because it's like many of you mentioned, it's that diversity of opinion, and that can be in different roles within a college and not just within sort of teaching staff as well. And I think it's important that everybody's able to have a voice and to feel listened to. So yeah, we do have a whole college team meetings as well as department team meetings as well. And that's where we try and create that space for the sharing of ideas and thinking as well for that. And it's good. I mean, I suppose it's how, as it wasn't through the sharing of different sort of departments, as it were, but the whole idea of sort of distillation and of your fragrance came up through quite an informal initially sort of chat between Amanda, Stacey and myself, just when we were talking about how do we define cooperative learning. We kind of knew the way that we want to practice it and what happens, but we need to be able to really articulate that and then write about it and share about it and get different views as well, different points of views as well, because I think it's something, it's not sort of going to be sort of set in stone. It's something that will continually evolve and develop as our thinking and experiences sort of change and develop too. So yeah, we do. But how do you, in bigger organisations, how do you think that could be possible? Sort of that collaboration between departments, because there are logistically many challenges there can be. Oh, and staff seen, sorry, Stacey's got a hand raised as well, if you wanted to come in there, Stacey. I can't see the hand on the yellow background, I've realised.
Yeah, I just wanted to add as well that when we actually design our training courses, we do have our training courses already designed, but then we will meet with organisations to make them more bespoke. And a lot of the time, through the conversations we have with people from other organisations, we can align the content, and they're very much co-created between ourselves at the college and whoever we're working with. And we do that based in the UK, but also internationally as well. And that helps to shape how specific they are to those people who will be participating in them. Any other questions?
Sorry, can I make a comment? At the end of this, I've sort of realised that probably what you're talking about is the outcome experience of a student is similar to the experience of the outcome that you get from smelling a perfume. Is that, because I've struggled with the idea of first notes and foundation notes, but I suppose you're talking about things go in to make a perfume and then things come out to give the experience of the completed perfume. Is that the sort of thing that we're talking about?
Yeah, pretty much. It was kind of that analogy of thinking all the different like layers or components,
Okay.
ingredients, as it were, that go
Yeah.
into making a perfume,
Yeah.
or a fragrance of any sort. And I think what appealed to us is, like Stacey said earlier, was that when that's sprayed, people will have a different experience of that smell. It could smell slightly different, or it can smell different. The same fragrance can smell differently on different people,
Okay.
which to us really reflects valuing that individual and those lived experiences. Yeah, but I think I don't know who it was who spoke in the comments on the Mentimeter, said about the filling in a sandwich. I thought that's another analogy. We do seem to quite like analogies and metaphors, I've got to say, with it, but then we have to think as well what's to try and make them as accessible as possible, which can be a challenge in itself. Hayley, I can see you've got your hand up.
Yeah, it's actually, it just fits quite well with what John was saying there. It was in our breakout session, Susan had given another good metaphor, and it was just to share that it was like a choir. So it's that idea that, you know, it's voices coming together, and then, you know, they sound different to different people, and, you know, it's not that one's better or one's worse, or, you know, that kind of thing. And I just thought it's another great metaphor, but it actually fits really well with John's comment there. So it's just that idea of, you know, that being, I suppose, greater than the sum of your parts, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, a choir. We'd not thought of that one at all. So yeah, and it just shows, doesn't it, by through the discussion, that new ideas are generated, which is what we want. And I guess that's what it is, that essence to it for us as well, that we really want to encourage discussions and thoughts. So yeah, oh yeah, I like it when we get new ideas.
Well,
I think as
orchestra.
well, oh, sorry, John, you carry on.
Orchestra is the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
A symphony orchestra, you have lots of inputs and you have an output, and the audience all experience differently. So, all these analogies are similar, and sort of give the idea. And it's a matter then of the college or the designer of the cooperative learning has an idea what the general outcomes are. Because if you put on a course and nobody gets an outcome, it's a problem, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
So you must have some sort of an idea what you're trying to get out to people. Yeah.
I think that with the kind of different layers of the kind of fragrance analogy, though, in particular, it's a good way to kind of divide up. Because when we try to describe what cooperative learning is, it can be useful to kind of think, well, there's multiple different elements to that. And so I think that's why the kind of fragrance analogy was interesting, because you've got that kind of initial kind of what gets people interested. Why would people want to take part in cooperative learning? You know, and thinking about all of the different ways in which we teach and learn, and we have like participatory theories, and we have lots and lots of different learning theories, you know, and cooperative learning, kind of mishmash of all of that. So it's about trying to kind of you know, just think about it a bit differently. And I think that you know, the kind of idea of like creating a kind of whole, but also keeping it individual to each person, I think that's the kind of key about cooperative learning. But doing something like creating something together, that's the key, isn't it? I can see Sarah's got her hand up as well.
Hi, thanks. So I work at the college as well, and it's just to add to this really, because we had a staff session last week where Stacey and Amanda ran this, and it was really powerful because it got us into the sense of smell. You know, they started us on our mini workshop saying, what's when you feel a good smell, how does that make you feel? You know, and it really got you into a feeling space rather than a head space. And I find that, and I guess for me, when I learn, I learn best when I have an emotional reaction, or it touches on other things really. So I just want to add that as well for this Eau de Co-operation. It was about senses, and that sense experience was really powerful for me. That's it.
That really leads us into our very final quick kind of fun sort of feedback activity that we have. Although what I will say is I'll just bob in chat sort of the email address for contacting us. So if anybody has any thoughts sort of afterwards, because we're very aware that sometimes you do something, then you think, oh, I wish I'd said that, or I could have said that. So it's just, it comes through to our learning email address, learning@coop.ac.uk. So feel free to contact us, about any thoughts that you may have. But what we'd just like to do is just a very sort of quick Zoom poll. So I shall open it up just slightly, and it's just really for you to select, I guess what we want in, what it is thinking of smells, which is what it was. I was calling it our smell poll, to be honest with you. I'm not sure if that's quite the right term to use, but I guess it's which smell, and I'll put the poll up in a minute, reflects how you feel about today's session. So we've chosen 5 and tried to go from a range of not very nice smells to lovely smells. We're very conscious that's subjective with it, so it is just a bit of fun. But if I just open the poll, and I just like you to vote as to which smell reflects how you feel about today's session. So there's a choice of 5. So hopefully you can see that poll, and we've got, there's a few smiles coming. We did actually, as a staff team, we asked them to for some example of some smells that we could perhaps use.
Smells.
Yeah. I certainly had the wet dog smell in my house, if I can say that, yesterday after the really heavy rain that we had. I shouldn't should I say that?
A very unusual approach when speaking about Eau de Co-operation, fragrance and smells. So a nice approach, unusual. I like it very much, as for me, for example. And I liked John's idea that cooperative learning is like an orchestra, really, orchestra. So through individuals, through small groups, this strategy of cooperative learning. So I liked this idea very much, orchestra. So, and in general, we all people, it seems to me, we are like a very big orchestra. But at the same time, in this very big orchestra, every individual is, or maybe the first violin, or maybe, or may play the role of the first violin.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a really nice way to end the session today. So can I just say thank you for coming along, for giving your time, and for sharing your thoughts. On this, it's been valuable to us, and we will of course sort of share. When we say our findings, we just really mean, we will write, a small, like an article, a report, we don't know the format yet, for this, about our approach to doing this, for really defining what we mean by cooperative learning, and we'll share that widely. So thank you. But as anything, anybody's got any feedback, comments, just always get in touch with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.